Another Copilot update. There's been so many changes, so we thought we'll better get another one in before Christmas. So Anna-Marika is going to be stepping us through that. Before we do, I thought I'll just do the normal housekeeping. So as always, we are currently recording this, and what we'll do is we'll edit the video, trim it up a little bit, and then we'll upload it onto YouTube, and then we'll send out a link to anyone who's registered, so you'll get that through in your email. Otherwise, I mean, if you subscribe to the channel, you get notified anyway. The other thing is we've got Q&A just across the top. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A. While Anna-Marika's running through the updates, I'll try and answer as much as those as I can. Otherwise, we'll try and cover them at the end if there's something that Anna-Marika can step in and answer. So we've got Q&A and chat, so just use those features. And then we'll have a little wrap up because this is the last one before Christmas, so we'll have a wrap up at the end. But there's a lot to cover, so I'm going to hand straight over to Anna-Marika.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming along today. And Ian is right, there is lots to cover. He even gave me the warning, you've got a lot of slides in there, Anna-Marika. I'm not sure you're going to be able to cover everything. So what I've done is I've collected some of the interesting updates that are there, and we'll just see how far we get through them all. There's some great stuff that has come out from Microsoft, particularly in the last couple of months. We had Microsoft Ignite and the Power Platform conference in the last few months as well. And when there's conferences like that, Microsoft tend to release some of their big features. And Ignite, they released quite a few big features. So we have a good catalogue to be working our way through. So the point of today is just to give you a taste of what's there. If there's something you want to explore further, by all means get in touch with us. We can talk you through that, or you can go and have a try yourself in the different features, but at least this way you get a bit of an understanding of what's happening out there. So that's our plan for this afternoon. One of the big changes that happened a little while back was that Microsoft introduced the ability for Copilot Chat, which is the free version of Copilot, to have access into the Office apps. Now, that used to be the distinguishing feature for the subscription version of Copilot, that we could be using that inside the Microsoft apps. Now we can use the free version, which opens it up to a whole lot more users. So this is a really big benefit to some of you who want to get into Copilot and may not want to take the step to those paid licenses. It gives you a whole lot more in your space. Now, don't get me wrong, there are still lots of benefits to the subscription model that are worth paying for, but you're getting so much more in the free version now as well. This is a little bit of a busy slide, but I did want to have the visual up on screen so that you could see what was going on. Copilot Chat is now built into your favorite Office apps. So it's inside of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Now, when I say chat, I'm talking about the free version of Copilot. That means it's not going to cost you anything extra to be using Copilot in your Microsoft 365 apps. What it does is it allows you to have your file open and be working with Copilot, and it will be contextually aware of that particular open document. It understands what you're working on and can tailor its help to that particular file, which means that we don't have to upload a file like we used to do previously. Now, it is also able to connect to your work file. So when you click on the Add button, it's aware of what you're allowed to have access to in the workspace, and it allows you to choose from those files if you want to bring additional files into the space. How does this differ from your paid version? The paid version will work across your tenant, so it can see more of what's happening and bring the different parts in. But in this free space, it's looking at what's open and will work with that in this particular space, but we can still upload files from our tenant into it. So you can get a really long way with the free version of Copilot now. What does it mean? You can be doing, if you needed something like a summary or you want help rewording tricky paragraphs, Copilot is right there in the application ready to help you. You don't need to go out to a different app to get it up and running. Why you love it, it's no extra cost. You don't have to be switching apps, as I just mentioned, because it knows what's happening inside your document. It's going to come up with some smart suggestions of what you might want to do, and we have access to our work files while we're inside that space. So if you haven't already taken the plunge into using Copilot, this is a really great time to step in and do so. So I encourage you to go and explore. Make sure you do go through the checks before you step into this process. Make sure you train your staff well so that everybody is using it well. To find the Copilot chat button inside your Microsoft apps, in your top right hand corner you will see a Copilot button there, and that will open up the pane on the right hand side of your screen. So that's how you can get into it. A few things of what you can be doing with Copilot Chat. I've kind of covered that as we've gone through, so I'm going to jump into our next topic so I can make sure we can get through as many of these features as possible. Another thing that has happened that will that Microsoft are hoping are going to encourage you into the Copilot space is that they have introduced new pricing for SMBs. Now, it's based on the number of users in your organisation, and for a lot of our New Zealand organisations, they're going to fit into the SMB space quite nicely. So this new pricing was available from the 1st of December, so it's available to you now. And SMB means if you have 300 staff or less, then you qualify for the SMB pricing. The pricing has reduced from $30 USD down to $21 USD. So that's quite a discount. So again, great to be able to step into the space. And it works with any M365 business license. So if you've got the basic, standard or premium, then you can apply for this particular pricing. So that now gives 3 different price offerings inside the Copilot space. There's the free version, which can also be metered if you want to bring in things like agents. You then have the 30 USD per user per month for the subscription version. Which is still worth paying for, as I say, because you get extra features and it can delve into your entire tenant and support you. And then we have the SMB, which is also a subscription model, giving you the same services as the subscription here in the middle. It's just at a lower price for us SMBs. Work IQ was another one that was introduced into the mix. Work IQ, when I first looked at it, I thought, okay, they're just renaming something that we already know about. What it is a little bit more than that. So we've known that Copilot has the ability to understand what's happening inside our tenant and the things that we're doing, but it now has a label and it does a little bit more. So that new label is Work IQ, and it's the intelligence layer that powers your Copilot and your agents. So it understands you as an individual, it understands your job, and it understands your company. Then the key components that it's bringing in is it's looking at the knowledge from your email, your files, your meetings and chats. So that's always been there. That's what we're used to. It's now also able to have the memory, and some of us have been using the memory for a little bit now, where we can tell it what our styles and preferences are, but we can also bring in workflows and relationships. And then we also have the inference. So it combines your data and your memory to make connections. It unlocks insights and it predicts the next best actions. This means that it can give you personalised, context-aware experiences across Word, Outlook, Teams, and the other spaces. So this is what you get with the subscription model. You don't get this with the free version. So that's your differences there. We can also connect it with agents. So for those of you that are exploring the agent space, the Work IQ connects into the agent, so we can have connectors taking place from that Work IQ space. So we can go in and get connectors to the graph and so on. So again, helping us build good agents for our users. Now, I just realized that I have connected up and I haven't turned on my sound. So I'm just going to pop out and get my sound on so that you guys can hear the video when I play. There we go. Here's the video ready to go.
WorkIQ is the intelligence layer that enables Microsoft 365 Copilot to know you, your work, and your company. WorkIQ brings together memory and inference. It includes work data, chats, meetings, and files, capturing how work gets done. It's woven into the app every day, like PowerPoint, Excel, Word, Outlook, and Teams. Copilot is always learning. It has memory, your style, preferences, and relationships, so Copilot understands your unique patterns. Finally, it includes inference, which brings it all together, enabling Copilot to connect the dots to unlock insights and predict the next best action. You can even tap into WorkIQ to build custom agents. It connects everything that matters inside your company and turns it into an experience that feels effortless, powerful, and personal.
There we go. That is WorkIQ. Next, we'll go into Agent 365. Now, this was launched at Ignite as well, and Agent 365 is the platform that Microsoft are introducing for us to be able to manage our agents and understand what they're doing. So this is more for those that are working behind the scenes as opposed to the users. But from a user's perspective, it gives you peace of mind as well in terms of knowing that your agents have been well protected and are only going to the spaces that they should. Now, the idea behind agents is that they're there to unlock the capacity for the employees within the organisation. Employees are getting lots of pressures from lots of different places, as you can see listed there. And the idea is that we want to try and introduce some agents into the mix to help ease the burden on our employees. To help get better efficiency in the organisation and allow our employees to work on more meaningful work. A study that was done has shown that 82% of leaders expect to use agents in the next 12 to 18 months to meet the demand for their workforce capacity. So agents are coming. That's what's going to be there working beside you when you're doing your work. So we need a way of being able to manage those agents. And that's where this control plane comes into play. Now, what Microsoft have done is they're thinking of agents like they would for an employee. Now, an employee, when they join the organisation, they get an email address and you get a password, and then assigned to you are the different groups that you're allowed to go in, the different places that you're allowed to see, the different libraries that you're allowed to go into. We have governance structures that IT use to protect the information in the organisation. So what they're doing is bringing that same idea over to agents. So when an agent gets brought into the organisation, that they're treated much like an employee. So they will be assigned an identity, and that identity will be provided access to what it needs and nothing more. So the IT team can restrict what that agent is allowed to have access to and what it can not go into. The Agent 365 gives that platform to IT to be able to manage it. And IT, as part of that, will get the observability as well as the visibility over the agents. So we can see what the agents are doing and track what they're doing. Plus, we can put the controls, securities, and governance over them as well. Now, I'm talking about agents, and you're probably thinking about Microsoft agents, but this is also being used for external agents as well. So if you're bringing in agents that aren't part of the Microsoft suite, then they are also being managed inside this Agent 365 space. Speaking to Copilot, now this is me being brave. Brave from the fact that I'm going to be doing a live demo, and there is plenty that can go wrong with this live demo, so we'll see how we get on. At Ignite, they lit up the ability for us to be able to talk interactively with Copilot. We've had the ability to put our voice prompts into Copilot before, but that's just turning our voice into a block of text. What it does now is allows us to converse as if it's another colleague, and it will then respond. And the way that it talks is quite amazing. It feels like you are actually talking to another colleague. However, with this particular colleague, we can interrupt it. So once you've got the answer that you want, you can move on to the next topic and it's not going to get upset, and it can easily switch from the first topic to the second topic just like that. It keeps a text version of your conversation as well. So if you are wanting to look back at what you discussed, you can see that as well. So let's see how we get on. I am going to give this a go. Right, this here is my phone, and I'm going to have a chat with Copilot through my phone. To do so, I'm just going to have to take my headset off so that you can hear the sound. Right, and we'll make sure that we've got our volume up nice and loud so you're able to hear Copilot chatting back. So, for those come in here, make sure it's on work if you're going to be asking it work-related questions. And then down in your prompt box, we have this little line button, and that's how we can get the conversation started. Hi, Copilot. Hi, Copilot.
How's it going?
Thank you. I am just wanting to check a few things with you, please. The first is, I know normally you talk to me when you start the conversation, you say kia ora, and that's quite nice, and I missed that this time. Are you able to say hello to me again?
Hi, mo taku he. Kia ora, Anna Marie. Always happy to greet you that way. What else did you want to check?
Lovely, thank you. I've got some people listening into our conversation who are keen to hear how we interact. So for them, it'd be nice that they can hear you speaking in Māori, which is nice, but we'll continue the rest of the conversation in English. Can you please tell me what I've got planned for Tuesday next week in my calendar?
Next Tuesday, you've got a projects update meeting at 8:30 in the morning with Joe Bennett and Ian Bennett, and you'll be updating the project board beforehand. Then at 11, there's a meetup focused on SharePoint and M365. Both are online meetings. Anything specific you want to cook?
Yeah, what do I need to do for the afternoon meeting?
The afternoon meeting is a meetup point. Might be good to brush up on any recent SharePoint or M365 updates you've done, just so you know you're ready to contribute.
Excellent. Thanks for that. I'll just interrupt you there. I'm going to get back to my colleagues now, and we'll speak with you later. Thank you.
Kia ora. Thanks for the korera. Talk again soon.
All right, I'm just going to get my headset back on again so you can hear me a little bit more clearly.
Some of that audio was a little bit breaky for me. I don't know if it was just me or everybody else, but I think we got the general gist of it. So, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
Right. Sorry, I missed that, Ian. Was it not coming through?
It was a bit broken up, but I think we got the general gist of it. Yeah.
Great. Okay, my apologies. That's the hardest thing about doing it live. You're never sure how it's going to come across. So yes, that is the voice, and it is a really fluid conversation that you have with it as well. So I encourage you to give it a try. You can also ask it personal questions as well. I was needing some information over the weekend to assist me with getting somewhere, and it was able to guide me through that process, jump into a completely different conversation, and it moved on really easily. So give it a go, see how you get on. Right. Next is vibe working, also known as agent mode. And this is sitting inside of your Microsoft apps, specifically Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. Vibe working refers to Copilot operating in agent mode. So when you have your prompt box, there is a little button that you click on and you can select agent mode, and that kicks the agent mode into action. It acts as a proactive assistant that can perform tasks autonomously, get myself all tongue-tied, based on your intent rather than just responding to your prompt. So it's context aware, it understands your file without needing any detailed instructions. It can automate tasks, so it can handle multi-step actions like doing analysis and summarization and design, and it can give you real-time support. With a traditional prompt base, it can't go too much into what you're currently looking at, whereas the agent mode can see what you're working on and offer you real-time suggestions, talk about corrections or enhancements as you're doing the editing. There's also cross-app integration, and the sorts of things that you could be using it for are things like dashboards, executive summaries, and branded content. I've picked a couple of areas just for us to have a look at, but I encourage you to go in and have a play. Now, you may not have access to it yet. It does require you to be a Frontier organisation, so your IT will need to switch you across to Frontier if you aren't already. So if you don't see it, that may be one of the reasons as well. Some of the aspects of agent mode do come through without it being Frontier mode, but some don't. So just be aware of that side of things. Now, this is what's possible in Excel. Right. What we saw there was that from a prompt, it took information that was inside of a spreadsheet and created a dashboard after having reasoned over the data. So it created a report off to the side where you could understand its logic as to why it did different things, but it also gave you a report that you could share with others. And then it had the dashboard in the spreadsheet itself. And rather than just being an image, it is a proper functioning Excel spreadsheet that you can then be working and making changes on yourself as well. So that was all done with agent mode. Copilot in PowerPoint. I'm going to jump this slide here. It allows you to create presentations and create new slides. So if I move into here, let's go to this one. If I select for it to create a new presentation, it will open up this window here and ask me what is it that I want to create as my presentation. I choose the length of the presentation. I can add reference files if I would like as well, and it will then go away and create an outline of the presentation for me. So for this one, I was asking it how to make toast and to use graphics and bullet points. So it's put together the layout of what it thinks would be good for that particular presentation. After that outline's done, I go through and choose the presentation style. So I can choose what type of template I would like here, and there's lots of different templates to choose from. It can also connect to your organizational templates if you've had them loaded, so you will need to load them in. Or you can ask it to suggest a particular template, in which case it will come up with something that works with your topic. Then you can choose what kind of look you want for your images that are going to be in the slide. Again, there's some presets to choose from, or you can go with the suggested. Then we click on Generate Slides and it creates the presentation for you. Now, this one was of one that I did for learning what's possible in Boulder, Colorado. I have a daughter living there, so I thought that might make an interesting topic. It does it really fast. It takes about a minute or two to think about things, and it then creates that for you. Now, I do have other interesting ones here, which I can launch into, Ian, unless there's Q&As that I need to be answering.
Good, yeah, just do a couple more, some of those spotlight things, yeah.
Okay, great. So the first is, so these are just snippets of what's happening in your Copilot spaces. You may or may not have them yet. This one turned on for me a couple of days ago, so expect to see it sometime soon in your tenant too. We now have the ability to specify how Copilot responds to our prompts. So do we want a quick response, or do we want it to think a bit deeper? Or are we going to let Copilot decide based on what the prompt is that we give it? So if you know what you want as a prompt, you can specify it, which is great. This one here is right next to the same button that I just talked about, but it's a little Teams icon, so the two people with a plus sign over the top. If you click on that, it allows you to start a chat around your Copilot discussions. So we'll click on that button, we choose who it is that we're bringing into the chat, and it will then create a team chat for you with the prompt that you've been discussing. We can then continue in the conversation inside of Teams to prompt Copilot, and whoever was invited into that chat, so your colleagues that are in that chat, will be seeing the interaction that you're doing with Copilot. They can add in, they can be prompting with Copilot as well. So it becomes an interactive place. So this is how it looked for one that I connected to with Gabrielle. So I started off, I was talking to Copilot. It gave me a response back. I invited Gabrielle into the chat, and then I was prompting Copilot in this blue section, and it's now typing its response ready back to me. So it becomes a place that we work inside of Teams, but we're talking with Copilot. GPT-5, as you know, we've had the switch that we could choose to turn it on or not. It is now the default. So that may not be in your tenant yet, but in my tenant, it is now set as the default. So you no longer have to select it. So you're getting all the GPT-5 goodness without having to remember to turn that button on. For those of you that are interested in the Claude side of things, they are now available inside of Copilot. Deep Thinking and Researcher and Anthropic models can be added into agents. Agent flows, if you are creating agents and you're working with flows in that space, we quite often want to have the agent come back to a human to get the next step. So we don't want it working completely autonomously. So we now have a group of actions that are under the heading human in the loop, and they allow us to do things like request a human to get further information, or that it can follow an approval process if it meets specific criteria. So those are sitting in there for those of you that are working with agents. For those that are interested in the MCP servers, there was a lot of goodness that came out of Ignite in that. I'll leave that up on screen. You can always look back on the video and take that in your own time, but there's some great stuff that's coming in here. There are now over 40 MCP servers available natively from the agents inside of Copilot Studio. Plus, it can also connect to lots of Microsoft MCP servers that are going into your app. So that's more IT speak for those of you that are in the IT world here on the conversation. For the users, that's probably going to go over your head. But look at that, we got through all the slides. Ian,
good job. Yeah. I don't think there's any questions, so maybe everyone's just like deep in thought over all of those new updates and how they can
Or
implement
feeling
them in their
bombarded
roles.
by all the new prompts, all the new updates.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
all the
So
goodness there.
I think you just mentioned those MCPs, right? But that's so any software company that has cloud-based applications could create MCPs so that we can then leverage that to integrate into their software. Traditionally, it had to be API integrated, but now MCPs are basically open APIs through AI agents that we can leverage and use those kind of predefined table structures and things like that. So really cool and exciting space for us to be able to build solutions and apps using Copilot. So yeah, really cool. Anyway, lots of updates. I love the voice. I use the voice feature like nearly all the time. I'm speaking to it constantly. Yeah, very cool feature. I have found some limitations with it though, that when you ask it, it can't provide you kind of like documents and things like that you would normally get when you're text, type based chats. You can actually ask it to create you a document, whereas in the voice it doesn't do that. But when you finish the conversation, you could jump into the chat and then add a comment to ask it to create a document for you, and then it will. But I'm sure that will come shortly. It's always developing. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, I think that's us. So we're just over time, a fraction, but next year, we'll be planning out our webinar strategy. So if you've got any suggestions for next year, got any topics you want us to do a deep dive into, or any of these things today that we've talked about that you want to go deeper into, then feel free to jump in and suggest a topic for next year. We'll be starting back. So we're actually closed just from next Friday through to the 5th. So just a couple of weeks there. But our next webinar is scheduled for the 11th of February. So once we've outlined the topics, which we'll take some advice on, so feel free to suggest something, and we'll line out the rest of the year for 2026. But yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff, all these changes. So 2026 is going to be a big one, I'm sure.
Definitely. Well, thank
Right.
you all for coming along. Appreciate you being here, and hopefully there's something that you can take away and use back in your workspace.
Yep. Thanks very much, Anna-Rika, and thanks everyone for joining. And we'll send the video out over the weekend, probably. Good. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank
See
you.
ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.